sparkling water or beer.
Sparkling water. I will still take one. Thank you, sir.
We're gonna do this as a live YouTube video too, so you can click on this later.
He's giving us all Ferraris.
I know.
Is what it's gonna,
Yes. You get a
Look
Ferrari.
under
You
your
get
chair.
a 70s Ford pickup. Take it. So my name is Richard Seitz. Let's. I'm gonna do one of these deals here. No, you're fine. Thanks for coming out. Appreciate it. My name is Richard Seitz. I'm an ultra marathon runner. I'm a brand ambassador for the Bear Mountain, and I wanted to take just a second and tell Ross, huge thank you to you and the Bear Mountain, all the staff here, all the folks. They've helped me complete 3 ultra marathons this year by providing me expertise, gear, and just thanks for that. Really do appreciate everything. And then they've been able to put on things like this clinic. And we're also going to do kind of like a cleanup run of Cameron Park. I think in October. I don't know if that's even scheduled out yet, but just awesome shop. And it's amazing to have a place like this in Waco where, you know, if you go outside, you don't see mountains. You know, this is like a shop you'd see in a little mountain town, but they have everything here for mountaineering, hiking, just getting outside. It's just such an awesome place with high, kind of top of the line gear, and also just a huge knowledge base here with the staff. But yeah, just thanks Ross and the shop. So we're going to talk about everything endurance running, endurance training. I'm going to kind of go through and tell you how I got into running, how I got into endurance running, tell you about a couple of the races I've done, and then we'll get into some real kind of, you know, food, water, hydration, stuff like that, the gear I use, and then just some of my thoughts, things that I've learned kind of throughout the way. How I got into running, I did run in high school. I went to high school and graduated in 2000, so it's been a little bit of time. And in the military, I was in the military for 6 years. We ran, you know, roughly like a mile or so every day, which is not huge, but it's something. Shortly after the military, I did run a 10K, was the furthest I had ever run in high school. And up to 2019, that was like the furthest I had ever run. Just to give you kind of an idea of where I'm coming from and where basically anyone could come from for that matter. But after the military, it was a 12-year span of not doing anything, just kind of sitting around, you know, enjoying potato chips and Michelob Ultra and stuff like that. I met a coworker who was new to the company and kind of asking her, you know, what she does for fun and stuff, and she told me she's an ultra marathon runner. And I'm thinking, like, what the hell is that? Ultra what? At that point, and this was back in like 2019, 2018, I didn't know there was anything beyond a marathon. I didn't know people did that. I didn't know people could do that, for that matter. Like I said, the longest I had ever gone is a 10K. That's 6 miles. That was, you know, the furthest my mind could think that I could travel in one episode, you know. So she's telling me, and she's only, I don't know, 5'3" or so, very small woman, that she's run a 100-mile race. And it's just like, this is just, at one time, this is just beyond everything I've ever known, you know. And kind of being an athlete in high school and doing some running in the military, that always kind of sat in the back of my mind like, that's wow, that sounds like an amazing adventure. And it was like a little seed that was planted way back in my mind. Fast forward a couple years, I'm on YouTube clicking those videos, and I see these guys do an ultra marathon run. And it's like these elite people doing 100 miles in 15 hours, which is an insane pace. And thinking like, oh, there's that thing my coworker was doing. That's crazy. And again, seeing top tier athletes doing this and thinking like, oh wow, okay, never mind. That little seed is kind of fading away. And I came across a video where these two just kind of average Joe guys decided, let's go do Leadville, which is one of, kind of like an iconic 100-mile race up in Colorado, up in Leadville. It starts at 10,000 feet and goes up from there. But it was just two kind of ordinary guys from back east, maybe Pennsylvania or something, and they did some training, they worked together, and they went and completed that race and probably came in dead last, but they did it. And just for them to talk about how like amazing and life-changing that was, it kind of sparked that little thought I had in the back of my head back up, like, maybe this is something I can do. You don't have to be a top-tier athlete to do some kind of endurance event. So I started, this was actually a road, I don't live here right now, but a road I used to live on a couple years ago. I started just by doing half a mile out from the house, half a mile back. Half a mile out, half a mile back. Just doing these tiny little runs and really hating every second of it, but it's like, man, I really want to do one of these ultra marathons. And after a while, I would do maybe 4 miles a week, and then maybe 5 miles a week, which is not impressive by any means. It's not some huge mileage. Some of the guys I run with now, they're doing like 40, 50, 60 miles a week, just pumping them out, So at the time, it's like, I'm just doing a little bit here, kind of, gaining confidence in myself, getting back from that 12 years of really not doing anything. And slowly I began to kind of build what you'd call a base, and just kind of toughening up my ankles and ligaments and stuff and kind of getting back into it. At that point, I really dreamed of doing one of those mountain ultras like in Leadville or somewhere in the Rockies or Wyoming, Montana, something picturesque and, awe-inspiring and up there in the mountains. That was still like my goal, kind of my dream to do. This is my first 100K. It's a 62-mile race in Glen Rose, Texas, right up the road, 2020. This is at the end of the race, and 100%, I swear, I thought I had the biggest smile on my face because I was so happy. I was so happy to be done. I won't go too much into these. I just want to put some pictures up, and if you do have questions about any of these, it's fine, just ask them. But I was happy, I was done, and I thought I was smiling from ear to ear. This is a 2-year span here, also at Dinosaur Valley, when I did my first 100-mile. So in between here, I had my 40th birthday, and on my 40th birthday, I'm sitting in the hospital with my appendix exploding, and I still had that dream, okay, I did an ultra marathon, but I want to do a mountain one, not in Glen Rose. That's right up here. I want to go to the Rockies and do something big. So I'm sitting there in the hospital with my appendix busted open. It's my 40th birthday. I'm thinking, it's now or never. Like, we've got to get this done, because I'm thinking like that could have took us out. Something else could have took us out. So it's like now or never. We got to get it done. So that summer, this race is in November. That summer, I ran about 300 miles of just the same thing, just logging, a couple miles here, a couple miles there, and really putting in the time. And you can see here, I have a smile, an actual smile on my face. Side note too, for this race, I think I only logged about 30 miles before running that one, with the longest one being, I think, 17. So this is no preparation, just pure stupidity.
Did you mean 30 miles that week? Like 30 miles?
No, like within, say, 5 or 6 months leading up to this, I'd only run maybe 30 miles. Because I thought like, it'll be fine. I'll do it, no big deal. And then leading up to this one, over the course of the same, like 4 months or so, 300 miles. And then, so again, that mountain ultra, that mountain thing is in my mind still. So I used to live in Wyoming, and I found a 100-mile race that went through the mountains of Wyoming. And I thought, that's the one. This is the one I have to do. but reading through the kind of the race details, you have to be a graduate level ultramarathoner, which means you need a 100-mile race under your belt. And that last one I did, okay, I got that under my belt. But this race is at, you know, upwards of 8, 9, 10,000 feet. I don't know how the elevation is going to affect me. So I signed up for what's called the Drift in outside of Pinedale, Wyoming. This one went up to 9,000 feet, and also it sucked because it was in the snow and it was just horrible. But the main reason was it was at elevation, and I had to do it to see how my body reacted to that elevation. And if you've never been up that high, you can't breathe, basically. So this was in March this year, and then this was just a couple weeks ago, going through the Wyoming range. It's a 100-mile race through the Rockies, so that was the one that I finally got to do. And then this one, if you went from today and went a year back, I've done 1,000 miles to prepare for this, which this is a lot tougher than anything Glen Rose has to offer. So that's just a little bit of background on me, kind of some of the stuff I've done. Here are a few like tips and tricks, and I got a gear list, and we can go through some things that I've kind of learned. One of the biggest things is you'll never be ready. And that's even more than just running or endurance training. Sometimes you have a goal to do something and you feel like you're not ready to do it. Just like these races, I've never felt like I was ready when the time came. And that's fine, you'll never be ready. You want to start a business, you feel like you're never ready, but just take that leap, you know, start that business. So just remember that when the time comes, as long as you put some training in and you've done the right steps, you may not feel ready, but it's okay, just jump in there. A lot of people don't do, like this was my dream, a lot of people don't reach out and complete that dream or that goal because they're always, I'm not ready yet, I'm not ready yet, and then, you know, their life goes by and then that's it. I put on here walk a lot. So you're thinking, like someone had asked, they're doing that all in one shot? The very top tier super elite people are running straight through like you've never seen, like a cheetah. Like 7-8 minute miles just all the way through. That's like 1% of 1% of the population, you know. 99% of the people out at these races, they're very average people, and there's a lot of walking, a lot of power hiking. So when I said I've done a 100-mile run, yeah, I was running, and there was a lot of walking also, a lot of stopping to get food and drinks, you know, stuff like that. So if you go out to do some type of long distance endurance, just remember there's nothing wrong with walking. A lot of people do, and it'll be a necessity at some point. For these long endurance runs, you really need to eat a ton of food. So on one of those like 100-mile races, you'll burn like 15,000 calories, which is a ton, and your body needs that fuel to get you through those miles. I try to eat every 2 miles or so. It's just kind of my rule of thumb, like 2 to 3. And I'm packing, and we can talk about food a little bit later, but I'm packing things like Cliff Bars, gels, the frog gels I love. They have like caffeine in them. Apple sauces, things like that. And water also, you wouldn't believe how much water you need to drink. It sounds ridiculous, but any sports really, you're sweating out so much that you need to drink a ton of water. On this pack, and I'll kind of go through the pack in a minute, we have water bottles that are attached to us. I always fill one of those with an electrolyte because you need all those salts, and then one with just water. So I drink and eat as much as possible. The next one, lube early and lube often. This should have probably been at the top, but I don't want to use my my one humorous thing on here too early. If you were to track how many steps you would do in a 100-mile race, it's roughly 220,000 steps. So if you can imagine any friction that you have on your body, thighs rubbing or anything like that, it's a lot of friction. You've heard of people in marathons like maybe putting Band-Aids over their nipples or lubing their feet. Imagine that, but for marathons. So lubrication is always your friend. You see I have a bottle of Vaseline up here.
I feel like you're not selling this very well.
Oh, no, you're going to love it.
I'm a little discouraged.
Take care of your feet. That is, I mean, it's your mode of transportation, your feet. That Wyoming race, we had probably roughly 30 river crossings. So as much as I could, I would take my socks off. I could change my socks if I had them, if I had spare socks in my pack. But I was always keeping track of where my feet were. Any hot spots from friction, you know, I would take care of it right away. Something that's bothering your feet at, say, mile 10 or 15 or 20, it's going to be a game ender at mile, say, 60 or, you know, down the road. Even if a little pebble gets in your sock, or sometimes my socks from the wash will get like little balls on them from like the material rolled up. Sometimes you can feel that like on your ankle, and with that rubbing on that spot for, you know, hours at a time, it will become a blister. Then a blister can rip open, and so it's just like you have to keep ahead of everything on your feet. I put on here, train your feet. I do a lot of barefoot walking. When I'm at the house, I'm always barefoot. You know, out in the lawn, the driveway, I'll play with the kids in the road. I'm always barefoot, and it just strengthens my feet. It strengthens the bones in my feet, strengthens the skin on my feet, just overall strengthens my foot. That way, when it's time for race day, because you're just pounding your feet, they're just that much stronger. Never let the thought of quit enter your mind. I know you've already had it enter your mind, right? There's a lot, and I don't want to be like a motivational speaker or anything, but all these races I've done and any thing that you have, and it may not even be a run, it may just be some goal you have in mind. You don't want that thought of giving up or that thought of quitting even entering your mind. Because once it's in there, you start stewing over it. It's better just to never even have that option on the table. Don't even let yourself have that option. Some of these races are tough, and a lot of people will go into them thinking like, oh, I'd like to try that, or I might, you know, give that a shot. You're already setting yourself up for failure. You get to go into that knowing I'm finishing that race. No matter if they have to drag me out of there, I'm going to finish it. Even if I finish it a day after, you know, everyone else, like I will finish that race. Of course, unless you unfortunately break a bone or something that's, you know, life-threatening, obviously. The gear list. So this is where the Bear Mountain is huge on this whole presentation. The shoes, Ultra, which are a shoe that they sell here, it's the brand Ultra. They have a wide variety of different kinds of running, hiking shoes. They have boots with different lug patterns and stuff. Here's some Ultras that are equipped for the road, for road running. What I love most about Ultra compared to other shoe brands is, first off, they have what's called a zero drop. So from the heel to the toe, there's no drop. It's just flat across the sole. Where some of your running shoes, there's a big stack of rubber on the back that kind of picks your heel up. I like that because it's more natural, just like you're walking with no shoes on. Also, the Ultras, they all have a wider toe box, which is great, again, for more of a natural gait. You know, your feet kind of splay out more, and they're not tight and bound up. These are road shoes. These have 555 miles on them, and they look freaking awesome. These things hold up. These are some other ones I have. They have, I think these have around 300. So these have a little more like aggressive tread, but still the same, the zero drop, large toe box. Just awesome shoes. I have 4 pair altogether, but those are just the ones I brought. Highly recommend. And then the folks here they know like everything about every model of every shoe here, and the staff's awesome to help you out with any of the shoes. Shorts are just clothing in general. Lightweight is always the way to go. Cotton is never your friend. If you've ever done anything where you're sweating, like mowing the yard or something, cotton gets heavy. It never dries out. So keep it lightweight, like a synthetic material. I've really started loving all things wool. This shirt, that race where I had snow on my face, I finished it in just this shirt, and it was like 18 degrees out, and I was perfectly fine. Perfectly fine. This like New Age merino wool is just awesome stuff. Highly recommend. And that they make all sorts of shirts and socks and stuff like that. Another thing, getting into these like longer distance runs, I see everyone with all these crazy packs, and you know, again, there's tons of different brands that make all sorts of different stuff, and every year they're coming out with something new. This is just a very basic hydration pack where I can carry bottles of water on the front. There's a bunch of little pockets for, I put my cell phone in one, and then food and snacks and stuff in the other. And this particular one has kind of a larger pouch in the back where I keep things like rain protection. I got sunglasses, there's a headlamp, stuff like that in here. Extra like safety equipment, heater for your hands, safety blanket, things like that. When I started, all I had was like a waist belt with just 2 little pockets for water, which was fine. Obviously, that's for kind of a longer distance. If you're just doing runs around town or even hikes and stuff like that, you could just take like a water bottle. They make water bottles that have like straps on them with little pockets and things like that. But water is definitely a necessity. Usually folks that are out running or even hiking, they usually have a watch on them. And again, it's really personal preference. There's so many watch brands. I use a Coros. This guy is really good with battery life. That was the main reason I went with this watch. 24 hours with using GPS, it'll stay charged. And that's another thing, it tracks GPS. I can be on a trail and it'll start beeping when I go off trail or off track. So it's kind of like a safety feature there. This tracks, you know, mileage, heart rate, just everything. And when you're getting into different types of training, you may want to train for your heart rate. You want to see your heart rate on your arm, see what mileage you're at, things like that. But a watch is definitely on the top of the gear list. Then beyond that, socks, again, it kind of goes back to like taking care of your feet. Some people hate these socks, these little toe socks. I love them. They're actually like going out of, they were never in style, but they're,
When we were in high school, they were.
yeah, they're
I
the rainbow little toes.
Yeah,
I've seen those.
Yeah.
So for me, these little socks, looks like a little glove, they lessen the friction on your toes. And with the the wider toe box I was talking about, there's plenty of room for all your little piggies to be comfy in there and move around. I love them. A lot of people are kind of going away from these, but I love these. These ones are by Ingenji. There's also wool socks that say merino wool, which again I love. Smart Wool makes a great sock. And this is my gear list. This is kind of like my tips and tricks. If you go out and you go hiking or running or even any kind of like endurance stuff, it's really going to boil down to what works with you. These little socks may give you a blister. These socks may work great for you. You know, it's all dependent on the person. But that's kind of the gear that I've found that works best for me. To go beyond that, you can see in the picture like puffy jackets, trekking poles, and that's all stuff I've actually gotten from here, which is awesome. is there any questions about the gear?
Is there like, I know when people are doing long distance trails, they say, oh, you know, like Appalachian Trail, you want to
Oh, yeah.
sub 20 pounds. Is there a weight for something like this, or is it just personal preference at this point?
Personal preference. So some of the races will have like a mandatory gear list where you could put all that gear together and kind of see where you're at. You can't get rid of any of that gear if it's mandatory, so you're kind of set at that weight. Some, like that one in Wyoming I just did, you had to have 600 to 1,000 calories on you, like in some kind of food. You had to have like 30, I think 2 liters of water. It was some, I can't remember what the number was. You had to have bear spray, hat, gloves, jacket, you know, a whistle, a safety blanket. There was a number of things you had to have on you. So a pack like that with the big pocket's nice because you could shove it all in there. Like you don't have to wear your jacket and everything. But I actually keep meaning to weigh that pack with what I had. But it was definitely under 20. It was maybe a solid 10, maybe. But something that's like here in Glen Rose where you're doing loops, where it's like a 10-mile loop, and you have an aid station in the middle of that, you could really go with just a couple bottles or like a bottle, make it real lightweight. But like the Appalachian Trail, those guys are going, they're not seeing anyone for
85 miles at least.
yeah, like
Before,
be a couple
yeah.
days where they're not. So they're definitely carrying a lot. Real fast, some of the food, I would mention a lot of it is easily digestible. When you're running, your body, I don't want to say it shuts down, that's like a bad phrase, but some of your processes get slower, like digestion slows down. So to have like applesauce compared to say like a hamburger, like applesauce is gonna go through a little bit better and you're gonna get those calories in a little bit faster. A good rule of thumb is like anything my kids will eat is like a good thing to take.
Well, mine eats hamburgers, so that's.
Well, I have had quesadillas and peanut butter jelly sandwiches.
Richard, I don't know if it was you or maybe somebody else that I saw that you said easily digestible. They were doing like whoever it was that was doing a long-term race, and they had like potato soup or something, and like when they would stop at the check-ins, they would just like down a whole bunch of that or something. Is that like
Yeah, so
starches?
a lot of these long races, they'll be at like an aid station, where especially at night they'll have soups and broths, because sometimes, even if it's not that cold, sometimes when you're sweating and you stop, you get freezing cold. So like those hot soups are good. I've seen people do like mashed potatoes, just again, it's kind of soft, it's full of carbs to kind of fuel you. So yeah, I've seen a lot of different soups and stuff like that. A lot of this stuff is pretty high in protein also, calories and protein. Again, it's just a fuel source. Like you won't want to go out there with 10 pounds of celery. You're not going to get very far. So some of the things, and I don't want this to sound like you paid $15 for a ticket and we're at a hotel conference room. I don't want this to sound like some TED Talk or something, but for these races, and again, it goes to any goal you might have, you have to find your why. And it sounds so like cliche, and I even went back and forth of putting this on here, but I kind of wanted to mention it. Finding your why, it can mean a multitude of different things. For me, it's kind of broken into two separate things. First off is my family. So my family is really what drives me. To show them like what their dad can do, setting a goal, accomplishing that goal, sticking with a training plan, and having it all wrapped together to get to that finish line. It's a huge part for me of being a dad and trying to show them just something that we can do as humans, something hard, something tough. And my daughter, so when I say find your why, it's like when you're out there and that trail's tough, you're getting that little voice in your head, you know, trying to talk you out of this. You're in that low physical, emotional state, and it's like you just want to stop and give up. I see my daughter at the finish line, you know, and now I've got to explain to her why. Exactly though. But that's how I'm motivated, is because you're a loser. Like, that motivates me. You know, that kind of comes in my mind where, sorry, honey, Dad just didn't feel good. I had to give up. So that's one part of my why, is my kids. And this is actually at mile 50 at Dinosaur Valley. They were all there. But the other side is, it's hard to explain for me, and some folks may not get it, and it might really resonate with some other folks, but I'll give it a shot. This world we live in is a very soft world, and it can make you soft, physically and mentally. Everything we have is at the touch of our hand, you know. Nothing is hard. Nothing's very hard. At least you can take the easy way. You can take the comfy way in this world that we live in. I used to live in Wyoming, and I tell people this story that when I was a child, we didn't have running water or electricity where we lived. And we'd have to go to a stream in the summertime and bathe in a stream. And this is, you know, snow runoff from the mountains. So even in the summertime, it's freezing cold. And fast forward to like when I was in high school or a teenager, every year we went back, because we moved out of Wyoming. Every year we went back to visit for the summer to do fishing and stuff. We'd always get in that water. And there's something weird about when you can kind of boil yourself down to the most purest, rawest form of yourself. It's just like wildly moving. And that is what running does for me. When you're out there and everything is hurting and you feel like everything is going wrong, you can just kind of sit in your own thoughts and think about that, and think about, you know, yourself at your rawest point. That's my daughter right there. You probably recognized her. Her hair.
Dead giveaway, yeah.
There's a quote, and it's from the founder of Leadville, that one race in Colorado. Make friends with pain, and you will never be alone. I love that. Love that quote. So on here I have age, gender, and ability are not a factor. Definitely age. At these races, if you're in one or you volunteered at one and you saw, it's the widest age range you've ever seen. I've been with guys, well, obviously I've been with like a lot of 20-year-old guys out there, but I've been with guys that were 77, just moving through, one foot in front of the other, and completing these 100-mile races, which is insane. Gender is not a factor. When you take a length of distance and you stretch it out to say 100 miles or even longer, at that point, in some aspects of it, women are actually better than men at those long distances. It could be that their pain tolerance is higher, or who knows what it is, but there's someone by the name of Courtney DeWalter who's top, elite of the elite trail runner, and she did the Moab 240, which is 240 miles. She came in first, not just for the women, but for everyone. And the second place guy was 8 hours behind her. So when I'm saying like gender is not an issue, like there's women out there that will just crush it. It's really amazing. And ability. And what I mean by ability is if you wanted to do like an endurance race, you would need to put some training in. You would need to go do some things. I have heard of people only doing a 10K, which is 6 miles in the past, and they go out and they do 100 miles. But that's very rare. You do have to do some sort of training. But at these races, there's every walk of life. There's, you know, every age, every, you know, very just normal people out there enjoying the outdoors, enjoying endurance running, and just enjoying kind of everyone's company and having a good time. Some of these races have very long cutoffs. So like that race in Wyoming was 48 hours. So I kind of back engineered that to, I knew going into it I wasn't gonna win it. I wasn't probably even gonna be mid-pack. My goal was to finish. My goal wasn't to win it. So I almost like back engineered that to know I wanted to finish within that 48 hours, and actually it finished at 47. So age, gender, ability, there's really no factor there. Anyone, and I promise you, anyone can do something like this. I have on here discipline over motivation. So my wife once said that motivation gets you started, but it's discipline that, you know, gets you through the task, gets you to that goal. I'm not going to harp on this too much, but you know, motivation can get you somewhere, but it fades pretty quickly, and it's the discipline that will get you out of bed in the morning to go to work early, or to get to the gym, or get to the trail, stuff like that. But the most important thing is to have fun and enjoy the journey, because it is a journey from day one when I was running like a half mile a day to now go out and do, you know, a 20-mile loop around Cameron Park. It's been a long, you know, 4-year journey, and if you're wanting to get into something like this, you're not going to see those results in a week or 2 weeks. It's going to be a journey, but it's been a heck of a journey, and I've loved every second of it. Another one of my favorite quotes is Dean Karnazes, and he said, if you want to run a mile. If you want to experience a different life, run a marathon. If you want to talk to God, run an ultra. And that's very true. Again, thank you to the Bear Mountain. I do have a coupon code, if you will. If you mention my name, you can get 10% off in-store purchases, and then a Redmond Relight, which is a salt supplement. It's like an electrolyte. They have Redmond's out of Utah. They have all sorts of different salt supplements, but also you can get 15% off of them for mentioning my name on their website. And if you want to check me out on Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, there's all my info there. That's all I have. If you guys have any questions about those races or gear or anything, how much fuel mileage my truck is, or like anything really.
16 miles per gallon, your truck?
9 pulling a trailer.
oh, you didn't say
Yeah.
trailer. What about your feet, right? So what do you carry when you run to deal with feet blisters? You found a rub, you found a spot. My biggest issue is the sock has a seam,
Yep.
and I'm extremely sensitive to it.
So before, kind of like a preemptive strike, is I'll actually put Vaseline on my toes, even before I start, because going out, I know there's gonna be a lot of rubbing.
Right, that's gonna prevent the friction.
Yep, and
Yeah.
you'll be able to glide a little bit easier. But if you do get that hot spot, or you do get a blister, you need to take care of it. So with a blister, you can pop it, you can clean it, but put some kind of bandage on it just to keep the dirt out of it. I always carry a couple Band-Aids, athletic tape.
Pop it while you're out there.
Something like that, I would wait until I got to an aid station. Some bigger races, they'll even have, in the word aid station, they actually have aid, like someone that can help you also. But we usually have a kit that goes with me, not with me, but from aid station to aid station, that I have all that stuff. I have like alcohol spray. But yeah, if you had a blister that was
I guess
forming.
I was trying to think of this from a backpacking experience. I don't actually want to run, but maybe the
Yeah,
other day.
no, I mean, even
Right,
in
so
this,
I'm not gonna have an aid station, and usually by the time I get home, I've got something on my foot, and you just deal with it, right?
Yeah.
It's only been a few days, but I'd like to go longer, so just thinking.
so a safety pin weighs nothing.
Yeah,
You could have alcohol prep
Little wipe,
pads,
yeah.
little wipes. Those hardly weigh anything. Keep that in a little kit. Some Band-Aids. I like the cloth Band-Aids that are like material, not the rubbery ones. You could take a little bit of tape, just kind of roll, like athletic tape,
Yeah.
roll up on itself, not a whole big thing. And you can make a little kit, again, a Ziploc bag. All those pieces weigh hardly anything. Another thing that I learned is you could take a Ziploc bag, turn it inside out, and scoop just a little bit of Vaseline, and then, put the bag back in on itself,
Right.
and get the air out. And again, that little bag weighs nothing, but it could be a lifesaver
I
for your feet.
considered that.
And if you get that hot spot, which like that's new, you could put a little bit of that
I
Vaseline
feel
on
like
there.
there's always a hot spot, and then you just learn where it is and take care of it.
But if it's something that's causing that, like
Like a shoe.
like a rock or a stick or whatever,
Right.
like obviously get that out.
I think it's just feet, right?
Yeah, and that
Find the
goes,
best shoe, and then sometimes there's always something.
and that kind of goes back to what I was talking about, like toughening your feet. I spent a lot of time with no shoes on, and my feet are pretty tough. Like say you go walk out on like a gravel area, and it's like no big deal because of that
Right,
training.
That makes sense. My feet are pretty soft. I thought that's what ladies' feet were supposed to be.
Yeah, yeah.
He's always telling me like, let's go for a walk down the street, like, no more shoes.
I'm not feeling it. They say that your dog shouldn't walk out in that heat. My
Well, that
feet
one it's like
don't
a
want it
frying
either.
pan hot. That's bad.
So you can also use moleskin to kind of build up
Yeah.
that. There's also a newer product called glacier gel, and I have not personally used it, but my understanding is they're essentially, think of a Band-Aid, but it actually has a medication like impregnated into the
Already on it.
that is specifically designed for light blisters / blister, like hot spots prior
Right.
to blister formation. And you can just stick that straight over the hot spot, and it will essentially be a healing product for that blister, but it will also serve as like a lower friction material for wherever that hot spot's generating. So, and again, they weigh nothing. It's
Right.
a Band-Aid's worth of weight,
Makes sense.
Especially if you're going backpacking and you have a heavy pack, like a little bag of a couple of those
I
is.
could break them. I don't even have a
Nothing.
chair, it's too heavy. No, but that makes a lot of sense. Very lightweight, yeah. I'll give that a try.
When did you decide to make the jump from just doing like your own thing, running a half mile down the road, to like actually getting on like a training plan? And then how did you determine, or did you? And then how did you determine what your training plan would be?
So I'm gonna just repeat the question. When did I go from doing like my half mile at a time
Yeah.
to an actual training plan? It was right here, because this guy did not follow a plan, and that hurt so bad. 62 miles, the amount of times that your hips are moving, like you've probably gone to an amusement park, and at the end of the day, you're just like, oh man, my bones. We'll do that, but like a lot more, This guy was not ready for that. I think I said I did like 30 something miles before this within a couple months to prepare. That was not preparing. So after that, and then in the middle here, I said I was in the hospital on my 40th birthday, and that little light, or that little seed in my head was like, we gotta get this done, because it was kind of like a goal or a dream of mine. So it was there that was like, if we're gonna do this, we've got to do it right. So I found a training plan actually on the Koros website. This is my watch, and it loads to my watch. So every day it's like, okay, today is 6 miles. Here we go. And then you're sore. Then it's like, okay, the next day is 8 miles. It's like, okay, here we go. And And I followed that plan, and I mean, you could see it's a very stark difference between those two guys.
Do you have some sort of like an internet plan with your watch, or is it just,
There's a ton of plans.
is it Bluetooth?
Yeah, like on the internet, can you find a plan?
No, what I'm saying is, you know how like people have like a smartwatch of some sort, like
Yeah, some kind of schedule
right,
or
and
something.
then you have to pay for a plan.
Oh, no,
internet
no, no, no,
plan,
like a
so-
cellular plan.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
This is all run off my phone. So I
Does it
have,
kill your phone though?
no, like the battery or?
Yeah.
No, it's just an app. I go to the website, the Koros website on my phone.
Mm-hmm.
I download their plan, which is free.
Right.
I paid for the watch, but I didn't pay for the app or anything. Then that plan, you know, just Bluetooth or whatever, goes to my watch and it's loaded on here.
Alright, so it has like the activities that kind of remind you that you're gonna do
Yeah.
2 miles today and.
Yeah, but on my phone I can see a full calendar
Got
too,
it.
and kind of
But then
see
you can
what's.
also set it so you've got a course, like again, I keep going back to backpacking.
Yeah,
Plugged
yeah.
in where I'm supposed to be at Aquila.
So those are called like a GPX file.
Right.
You can create them on here on the app and load it,
Mhm.
or for some of the races I've done, they
Have
have
them
it
created.
loaded,
Mhm.
or they have it the file made, and you just grab it and download it to your watch through the app, and then when you start it, you can see the little line, and you just, I mean, all these races are on a trail system that are marked.
Right.
But at nighttime, if you were to get off course, it'll beep at you. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, that's it. Reese, do you have any questions? No? Well, appreciate everyone coming out.
Yeah, thank you.
Are you gonna join us for the run in October?
I think I'm busy that day.
Yeah. Every
Is
day
it?
of October?
Every day of October, I'm super busy. Yeah. Is that the Ironman? that's
No,
coming,
just we're
or
gonna do
what?
one. I think Kat's gonna do it. And just we're gonna go through Cameron Park and kind of volunteer and pick up some trash
Oh
and
no, I
stuff
can pick
like
up
that.
trash. We're not running.
Well, we can run or
Oh.
walk fast or.
Yeah, we've been talking about, hooking up with, Keep Like the Beautiful as well, and
Mhm.
kind of collaborate on that as well, so, details TBD, but.
I could definitely pick up garbage. I could definitely walk fast. We're just gonna stop there.
It's all you need.
That
That's
works.
sufficient.
Yeah.
Walk a lot, right?
Yeah.
I could totally walk a lot. Well, I mean, not really, but it's all in my.
Walk a lot. Let me stop this guy.
Well, Richard, thank you so much.
Yes, sir. Boop, 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 boop.